Hello everyone. In this video lecture, I am going to cover concepts related to coupling, clutch and brake. First of all, let us understand the term coupling. As you see in this first animation, there are two shafts. One is driving shaft and other is driven shaft. Now to connect these two shafts, we are using a device and this device is considered as universal coupling. So coupling is one kind of a device which is used to connect two shafts. Over here, these two shafts are driving shaft and the driven shaft, and it is used to transmit the power from one shaft to another. Next is the clutch. As you can see in this animation, it shows the animation of disc clutch. There are two shafts. One shaft is connected to the IC engine in case of automobile, and on this driving shaft there is a disc which is attached to it. So as the shaft rotates, disc will also rotate. Next shaft is the shaft which is connected to the wheel of the automobile vehicle. And on this shaft also there is a disc which is attached to it. Now when you apply effort on this link, then these two discs are not in contact. When these two discs are not in contact, power won't transmit from one shaft to another. Now when you release the effort on this link, then because of the spring force, these two discs will come in contact. And in between these two discs there is a frictional material which is helpful for transmitting the power from one disc to another. So in this case the power will transmit from driving shaft to driven shaft when these two discs are in contact. And suppose in case of automobile, when you want to change the gear, then you need to press the clutch. So when you press the clutch, effort is applied on this link, and when the effort is applied on this link, there is a disconnection between the driving shaft and the driven shaft. And when you release the clutch, because of the spring force, these two discs will come in contact. So when these two discs come in contact, it is considered as clutch said to be in engaged position. And when these two discs are not in contact, it is considered as the clutch in the disengaged position. So clutch is a device which is used to engage or disengage driving shaft and the driven shaft. Next is a brake. Brake is used in machines or in automobiles to slow down or stop the machine member. As you see in this animation, this brake is used in case of cycle. It consists of two blocks and a tire in between these two blocks. When you apply brake, then this block will come in contact with respect to that of the tire, and as a result the speed of the tire will reduce and ultimately it will slowly stops. So brake is a device which is used to slow down or stop the motion of vehicle. Now in the upcoming slides I am going to teach you different kinds of coupling, clutch and brakes. So let's start with the introduction part. Coupling and clutch are the power transmission elements. So coupling and clutch, they both transmit the power from one shaft to another shaft. Coupling is a device which is used to connect two shafts, whereas clutch is a device which is used to engage and disengage driving and driven shaft. So with the help of coupling, we can connect two shafts with the help of certain device. Now clutch is a device which is used to connect or disconnect driving shaft and the driven shaft. Brake is a frictional device whose primary function is to control the motion of machine member. So brake is a device which is used to slow down or stop the motion of machine member with the help of friction. Now let us understand coupling in detail. Power is to be transmitted from one end to other end commonly by the means of shafts. So shaft is an element which is used to transmit the power from one end to the other end. Let's say one end is connected to the machine and other end is connected to the electrical motor. So the power is to be transmitted from motor to the machine, and in order to transmit the power we are using shaft. However, it has been told that if the distance between two ends is very large, let's say 8 to 10 meter, then it will be inconvenient and expensive to have one such long length of shaft from both manufacturing and transport point of view. So when the distance between the machine and the prime mover is a device which transmits the power. So when the distance between the two machine and the prime mover is very large, and that distance is greater than 8 to 10 meter, then in such a case it becomes very difficult to manufacture long length of shaft. So to manufacture long length of shaft, it becomes difficult from both manufacturing and transport point of view. That's why it is necessary to join two or more pieces of shaft using coupling. So coupling is a device which is used to connect two short shaft. So let's say that these are two short shaft and coupling is used to connect these two short shaft. Types of coupling. Coupling is basically divided into two parts: rigid coupling and flexible coupling. Rigid coupling is having three parts: sleeve or muff coupling, clamp or split muff coupling. Third is flange coupling. Flange coupling is having two parts: protected type and unprotected type. Flexible coupling is having three parts: bushpin type flange coupling, universal coupling and Oldham coupling. In the upcoming slides, I will teach you all these 6 types of coupling. Now let us start with the sleeve or muff coupling. It is a kind of a rigid coupling. As you can see in this figure, there are two shafts, shaft A and shaft B, and power is to be transmitted between these two shafts. To connect these two shafts, sleeve or muff is used. And in order to connect the sleeve and the shaft, there is a key. So key is a member which connects the shaft and the coupling. This is the animation of two shafts. One is green shaft and another is red shaft. And this yellow color element shows the split sleeve coupling. Now to connect the coupling and the shaft, keys are used. So these are the two keys. Pink and blue color indicate the keys over here. Now in sleeve or muff coupling, the ends of the two shafts are to be coupled butt against each other and cast iron muff or sleeve envelopes them. A gib head sunk key is provided to hold the sleeve and shaft together and thus forms a rigid coupling. Next, split muff coupling. Split muff coupling is similar to the sleeve coupling which we studied in the previous slide, but in case of this coupling is divided into two parts. As you can see that these are two half parts, and these two half parts of the coupling is connected with the help of nuts and bolts. As you can see in this figure that in the split muff coupling there is a driving shaft and the driven shaft. These two driven shaft and driving shaft is connected with the help of split or muff coupling. This split of muff coupling is divided into two parts. One is golden color and another is of red color. So these are the two half parts, and these two half parts are connected with the help of nuts and bolts. Now in the split muff coupling, muff is splitted into two semi-cylindrical halves. One semi-cylindrical half is of golden color and other is of red color. Now they are held together by the means of square-headed bolts and nuts. So they are held together with the help of bolts and nuts. Two halves of the muff are recessed to accommodate bolt head and the nuts. So they are made in such a way so as to accommodate the bolts and nuts. Coupling is done with the help of feather key. Now to connect the coupling and the shaft, we need to use the keyway. So the key which is used is nothing but the feather key. Advantages of this coupling is that it can be placed directly anywhere on the shaft. So we can easily remove this coupling because it can be easily be removed with the help of nut and bolt. So when the nut and bolt are displaced, these two couplings can easily be disengaged. And also it can be placed anywhere on the shaft. Next is the flange coupling. You can see the animation of flange coupling. It consists of two shafts, driving shaft and the driven shaft. Power is to be transmitted from one shaft to another, and in order to connect these two shafts, a coupling is provided. Flange coupling is similar to the disc shape, and there are total two discs over here. One disc is connected to the driving shaft, another on the driven shaft. These two discs are joined together with the help of nuts and bolts. So when these two shafts are connected with the help of flange coupling, it will look like this. So this is a flange coupling over here. It consists of two similar cast iron flange. Flange is nothing but a disc to which the shafts are keyed with the help of taper keys. So to connect the shaft and the coupling, we need to use taper keys. After driving the keys, the flanges are turned up true with the shaft axis by the turning on lathe. So after the keys are inserted, these two shafts are aligned in one direction. The machine flanges are then tightened, held together by the exact fitting bolts in the holes. Once the shaft is connected, the flanges are then tight, held together by the exact fitting bolts in the holes. You can see the figure of flange coupling. These two discs are tightened with the help of nuts and bolts. Flange 1 and flange 2 are disc shape, and this is two shafts. Between these two shafts there is a key. Next is protected type flange coupling. Flange coupling is having two kinds, protected type and unprotected type. In the last slide we have seen that in the flange coupling, these nuts and bolts are outside the disc. So if this is a flange 1 and flange 2 which are of disc shape as you see in this side view, and these bolts, nuts and bolts are outside this disc, so there might be a chances of accident if this bolt comes in contact with the it will comes in contact with the shirt or clothes of the workman. So when the workmen work with such kind of coupling, then there might be a chances of accident of clothes catching inside this nut and bolt. So for the safety purpose, we are using protected type flange coupling. So protected type flange coupling looks like this. It consists of protection against nuts and bolts. It is similar to the flange coupling. Here each flange is provided with the annular projection for covering bolt head and nuts. This prevents the bolt head and nuts from catching the clothes of the workman, and thus it ensures the safety. So protected type flange coupling is used to ensure the safety of the workman. Spigoid and socket is provided in the middle of the flange for exact centering. You can see the figure of protected type flange coupling in which the flange is protected. You can see the nut and bolt assembly is protected so that it can provide safety to the workman. Next is the flexible coupling. Flexible coupling is having three categories. First is bush pin type flexible coupling. Bush pin type flexible coupling is similar to the protected type flange coupling, but with the bush inserted. You can see in this figure that this figure is similar to the protected type flange coupling, but there is a bush pin over here. So there is a bush pin over here. Flexible coupling are used where slight relative motion is required between the axis of the shaft, or when the shaft runs slightly out of the line. Now in case of the flexible coupling, it is possible to connect two shafts which are slightly misaligned, but in case of rigid coupling it was not possible. Let's say that this is shaft 1 and this is the axis of the shaft. Next is the shaft 2, and if the shaft 2 axis is parallel to the first axis but they are not in same line, so there is a slight misalignment between these two shafts. So in order to join shaft A with shaft B which is having slight misalignment, we are using bush pin type flexible coupling. So bush pin type flexible coupling are used when slight relative motion is required and when the shaft runs slightly out of the line. They are not in the same line. Pin type coupling is most commonly used flexible coupling. Here motion from one shaft of the coupling to the other shaft is imparted with the help of driving pin rigidly bolted to one flange and loosely fitted corresponding holes in the other. So this bolt is rigidly fit in the one end of the disc and loosely fit in the other end of the disc. Brass bush and rubber covering is provided on the driving pin for absorbing shocks and insulators and as an insulator. So this brass bush which is shown over here in this figure is provided on the driving pin for absorbing shock and as well as it acts as an insulator. It does not transmit shock from one shaft to another. Next is Oldham coupling. This is also a flexible type coupling. You can see two shafts over here. One is driving shaft and another is driven shaft. These two shafts are connected with the help of some component which is shown in the green color. Now these two shafts are not in same line. So if first shaft is above, then second shaft is below. So this is used to connect two parallel shafts. So Oldham coupling is used to connect two parallel shafts. It consists of driving shaft, driven shaft, flange A, flange B and the floating disc E. So this is a flange A, flange B and floating disc E. Flange A will look like this, floating disc look like this and flange B will look like this. So there is one slot in the flange A and flange B. Floating disc will fit inside this slot of flange A and flange B so as to connect two shafts A and B. So Oldham coupling is used for connecting two shafts whose axes are parallel but they are not in same line. The ends of two shafts are keyed to their respective cast and flange. The flanges have grooves cut across their inner face. A cylindrical piece having two projections, generally known as tongue, situated at right angle to each other, and it is inserted between two flanges. The tongue slide inside the recess across it. You can see two tongues over here. Two tongues are nothing but the projections which are there on the floating disc, and it can slide inside the slots which are provided in the flange A and flange B. Next type of flexible coupling is the universal coupling. You can see the animation of universal coupling, which is used to connect driving shaft and the driven shaft with this coupling element. Universal coupling is used to connect two shafts whose axes intersect. So axis of first shaft is in this direction and other shaft is in this direction. So you can say that the axis of two shafts are intersecting. In this coupling, two similar fork, this is fork 1 and fork 2, they are provided at the end of each shaft. The coupling consists of central block. There is one central block over here having two arms at right angle to one another. So this central block is having two arms which are at right angle to one another. So this coupling consists of two forks, fork A and fork B, and in between these two forks there is a central block having two arms at right angle to each other. The forks are pin joined to this central block. It is used to connect the propeller shaft with the gearbox shaft and differential of the automobile gears. Now this kind of universal coupling is used in case of gear shaft box, and also it is used in differential gear of automobiles. You can see the figure over here. Shaft A and shaft B, they are connected with the fork 1 and fork 2. And in between these two forks there is a central block and the pin. So the fork are of two numbers, fork A and fork B, and there is one central block over here. These central blocks extend in both the direction. So central block will look like a plus sign which is there between first fork and other fork and the second fork. And there is a pin which is used to connect the fork and the central block. You can see the animation of universal coupling over here, fork A and fork B, and in between this fork there is a plus shaped central block over here which is used to connect these two shafts. So in this case, first shaft is connected to the second shaft and power will transmit from one shaft to another. So this is the end of types of couplings. Now we will move to clutch. Clutch is classified into four parts: mechanical clutch, pneumatic clutch, hydraulic clutch and electromagnetic clutch. In this chapter, we are going to study broad classification of mechanical clutch. Clutch is a device which is used to connect or disconnect driving shaft with the driven shaft. Mostly it is used in the automobile when we want to change the gears. So when the clutch is pressed in case of automobile, your engine disconnect from the wheel. So driving shaft and driven shaft will be disengaged when the clutch is pressed, and when the clutch is released, driving shaft and driven shaft comes in contact with respect to each other, and power will transmit from one shaft to another. So it is used to connect and disconnect one shaft with the other shaft. Mechanical clutch is having two parts: positive contact clutch and frictional clutch. Positive contact clutch is having two parts: jaw clutch and tooth clutch. Friction clutch is having three parts: disc clutch, cone clutch and centrifugal clutch. Now we are going to see all the five clutch in detail. Frictional clutch. Friction clutch is the clutch which is used to transmit the power between two machine shafts, which may be required to start or stop frequently. The force of friction is used to start the driving shaft from the rest and gradually brings up to the required speed. First friction clutch is a disc clutch. In this clutch there are two flanges. One is keyed to the driving shaft by the feather key or spline so that it may be moved along the shaft. Driven flange may be pressed against the driving flange by the operating lever. You can see an animation of disc clutch over here. There are two discs, disc 1 and disc 2. One of the disc is attached to the driving shaft, and this driving shaft is connected to the engine, and another shaft is the driven shaft. So when these two discs are disconnected, this shaft stop because power won't transmit from one to another. And when you release this effort from this clutch, then because of the spring force, these two discs will come in contact and power will transmit from one shaft to another because there is a frictional material between these two discs. Now torque is transmitted by the friction between the flange with the friction disc, and they are used in trucks and buses. Such kind of clutch are applicable in trucks and buses. You can see two position over here: engage position, in which two discs are connected, and operating lever over here. So effort is applied on this operating lever. There is a spring. When you press the operating lever, clutch is disengaged. So when the effort is applied on this operating lever, then the spring will get compressed, and as the spring will get compressed, these two discs will disconnect, and when these two discs will disconnect, power won't transmit from driving shaft to the driven shaft. And when you release the effort from this driving wheel, driving wheel, then spring force will cause these two discs to be in contact with respect to each other. So because of this spring force, when there is no effort applied on the foot pedal, then spring force causes these two discs to be in contact and power will transmit from one shaft to another because there is a friction between the two discs. And when you apply the force on the pedal, then because of this force, the spring will get compressed, and as the spring will get compressed, these two discs will disengage. This is one more animation which says that when the force is applied on this fork, these two discs will get disengaged, and when you release the fork, it will comes in engaged position. Next is cone clutch. Cone clutch is of cone shape. As you see in the figure, there is a driving shaft and the driven shaft, and the cone shaped disc is connected to the both the shafts. Outer core is connected to the driving shaft and inner core is connected to the driven shaft, and there is a spring and the actuating lever over here. When the force is applied on this lever, contact lever, then spring will get compressed, and when the spring will get compressed, these two cones will disengage. And when you release the effort from this contact lever, then the spring will pushes these two cones to be in contact with each other, and there is a frictional material over here which is used to transmit the power from one shaft to another shaft. You can see the animation of cone clutch. So when the effort is applied on this wheel, then these two discs will comes in contact, This is the driving shaft and power is to be transmitted from this shaft to the driven shaft. So when they are in contact, this shaft will rotate, otherwise it won't rotate. In cone clutch, the torque is transmitted using friction between the inner surface from one cone mounted on the driving shaft and external surface of the other cone mounted on the driven shaft. The cone on the driven shaft can move axially by the suitable mechanism. Cone clutch can couple two shafts without excessive axial pressure, but it is very difficult to disengage. So in order to disengage two shafts, you require very large effort. Therefore, it becomes obsolete. Obsolete means what? It is not much in use as compared to that of disc clutch. So cone clutch is very obsolete because in cone clutch two shafts cannot be disengaged without excessive axial pressure. So axial pressure, large amount of axial pressure is required to disengage the cone clutch. Now let's move to the next type of clutch. Also you can see the engaged and disengaged position. So this is the engaged position of the cone clutch and disengaged position of the cone clutch, in which there is a gap between these two clutch, and as there is a gap, it won't transmit the power from one shaft to another shaft, and it requires very large effort to separate these two cones. Next is centrifugal clutch. Centrifugal clutch consists of driving shaft, driven shaft, and there is a disc over here which is attached to the driven shaft, and on the driving shaft there is a component, and this component consists of shoe. This is a shoe and the spring. So shoe and the spring. Shoe is a kind of a block which is having frictional material. Now as this driving shaft rotate, because of the centrifugal force, this shoe will move in the radially outward direction, and as this shoe will move in the radially outward direction, it will comes in contact with respect to that of the drum which is placed on the driven shaft. And so when the centrifugal force increase, then the centrifugal force will be greater than the spring force. Spring force act in the radially inward direction and centrifugal force will act in the radially outward direction. So when the speed increases, centrifugal force exceeds the spring force, and because of this the disc will comes in contact. And when the speed decreases, then spring force will be greater than the centrifugal force, and as spring force is greater than the centrifugal force, there is a disengagement between the driving shaft and the driven shaft. This type of clutch is used to connect two parts of the transmission after driving part has attained definite speed of rotation. So until and unless it won't attain the definite speed, these two clutch won't, the driving shaft and driven shaft won't come in contact. So after certain specific speed, centrifugal force will be greater as compared to that of the spring force. So net force will be in the radially outward direction. As the net force will be in the radially outward direction, that is centrifugal force is greater than the spring force, then this disc will come in contact. And when the speed is very less, then centrifugal force is less as compared to that of the spring force. So net force in the radially inward direction. As net force is in the radially inward direction, the clutch will be disengaged position. The shoes are pulled inward by the spring and forced outward due to the centrifugal action by the rotation of the driving shaft. When the driving shaft attains certain speed, centrifugal force on the shoe increases and it becomes greater than the spring force. The shoes are engaged with the inner surface of the cylindrical drum, which is considered as driven member. You can see the animation of cone clutch. This is a shoe and a driving shaft. Shoes are connected to the driving shaft over here. This is a driven shaft. Green color is the driven shaft and blue color is the driving shaft. So when it attains the certain speed, when it stops, when this disc stops, it means what? Centrifugal speed is very less. And when the speed of this shaft is high, then this disc is connected, right? The shoe and the disc will connect only when this shaft attains the particular speed. Until and unless driving shaft won't attain the specific speed, so for slow speed they are not in contact, and for very high speed they comes in contact. So centrifugal force works on the principle of centrifugal clutch works on the principle of centrifugal force. When centrifugal force is greater than the spring force, then this clutch is in contact, and when the centrifugal force is less than the spring force, then the clutch won't be in contact. Next is the positive displacement clutch, and in the positive displacement clutch there are two parts, jaw clutch and tooth clutch. You can see the animation of jaw clutch over here. There are jaws over here in the driving shaft and the driven shaft, and when the effort is applied on the link, then these two shafts is disconnected, and when the effort is released, then because of the spring force, these two jaws will comes in contact, and as these two jaws will comes in contact, power will transmit from one shaft to another. Next is the animation of tooth clutch. In the tooth clutch also you can see a tooth over here which fits in the corresponding recesses. So this is the orange color is the driving shaft and blue color is the driven shaft. Power is transmitted from driving to driven shaft with the help of this arrangement over here. Next, brakes. Brake is a mechanical device which produces frictional resistance against moving member in order to slow down or stop the motion of machine. Brake absorbs the kinetic energy of the moving member. Kinetic energy is the energy which is related to the velocity of the motion, velocity of the vehicle. So it is used to slow down or stop the motion of the vehicle. The energy absorbed by the brake is released into the surrounding in the form of heat. Classification of brakes. Brakes are classified into three kinds: mechanical brakes, electrical brakes, and hydraulic brakes. We will study mechanical brakes in detail. Mechanical brakes is further classified into three parts: block brake, brand brake, and internal or external expanding shoe brake. Let us see all the three kinds of brakes in detail. First is block brake. In the block brake, there is a single block or shoe brake. You can see a brake wheel over here. This brake wheel is rotating with some angular velocity omega. Shoe brake consists of a lever and a block over here. This block is nothing but a shoe. When the lever is pressed, when the effort is applied on the lever, then this shoe will come in contact with the brake and the brake is in action. When the effort on the lever is in upward direction, then there is a disconnection between the shoe and the brake. So in this case, brake is not in action. When the brake is in action, it can slow down or stop the motion of brake wheel. Let us see the animation of block brake over here. So this is the brake wheel which is rotating, drum which is rotating. There is a lever and the block. This block is called as shoe. When the effort is applied on this lever, block will come in contact with the drum. So when the effort is in the downward direction, block and the drum is in contact and this drum will stop because brake is in action. And when this effort is released, then there is a disconnection between the block and the drum. Next is the double block brake or shoe brake. You can see the figure of double block brake. It consists of two blocks on either side of the drum. Two brake shoes are applied at the opposite side of the brake drum, which more or less eliminates the unbalanced force on the shaft due to normal reaction. These two blocks are connected with the lever and the spring, and there is a bell crank lever over here. When the effort is applied on this lever in the downward direction, then there is a disconnection between the block and the drum, and when you release the effort, then this drum and the brake will come in contact. So first is the engaged position and second is the disengaged position. Double shoe block brake animation is shown in this video. As you see that when you apply the effort on this lever, block will come in contact with the drum and the drum will stop. And when you release the effort, then there is a disconnection between the block and the drum, and drum rotates at its usual speed. Double block brake is also used in bicycle. You can see double block brake animation over here for the bicycle. There is a bicycle tire in between and two block brake on opposite side of the tire, and when the effort is applied, when this string is stretched, the string which is over here is stretched, then block will come in contact with the tire and brake is said to be in action. And when the string is released, then there is a disconnection between the tire and the block and the brake is not in action. Next category of the brake is the band brake. You can see the animation of band brake over here. It consists of a lever, a rubber band over here and a drum. Now when the effort is applied on the lever, drum and the band will come in contact and rotation of the drum stops. And when you release the effort from the lever, then drum will rotate at its usual speed because there is no contact between the band and the drum. So band brake consists of brake drum, brake band and lever. Effort P is applied to the lever, and when the effort is applied, drum can be brought to a standstill. The lever is hinged to the fulcrum. So this is the fulcrum on which the lever is hinged to the fulcrum. So fulcrum over here, fulcrum is over here, and the ends of the bands are fastened at point O and point B. So these ends of the bands are fastened at first point and the second point. Internal expanding shoe brake. You can see the internal expanding shoe brake in action and without action. It consists of two shoes. These two shoes are fixed at the fulcrum. So these are the fulcrum over here. And on the outer side of these two shoes, there is a frictional material. So there is a frictional material on the shoe. There is a brake drum over here and there is an operating lever. These two shoes are connected to the operating lever with the help of spring. When you operate the lever, when the lever is pushed in the downward direction, as you see in this figure, then in that case, this shoe will come in contact with respect to that of the drum, and because of this contact, the speed of the drum reduces. So it consists of shoes which are pinned at O1 and OR. So there are 2 points over here, O1 and OR. The shoes are kept in non-braking position by the spring. So they are in non-braking position because there is a disconnection between the shoe and the drum. So normally brakes is in the disengaged position. The brakes are applied when the cam is pressed down. So when this operating lever is pressed down, the brake is applied. In case of mechanically operated brake, or when the shoes are pressed on the brake drum, as in case of the hydraulically operated brake. So when this lever is pressed down, these shoes will come in contact with respect to that of the drum, and because of this friction material over here between brake and between the shoe and the drum, brakes are in action. You can see the figure over here. Pay attention to the arrows. So this arrow says that when this lever is operated, the shoes will put in the radially outward direction and brake is said to be in action. Another animation of the drum brake, internal expanding shoe brake, is also considered as drum brake. In this case, lever is operated with the help of master cylinder, and there is a fluid which is compressed, and this compressed fluid will causes this internal shoe to expand, and as these shoes will expand, it will come in contact with the drum and the brake is said to be applied. Next category of the brake is the disc brake, which is used in vehicles nowadays. It consists of a disc, and this disc is connected with the wheel. So wheel is normally in action. Now if you want to stop this wheel or slow down the wheel, we need to apply the brake. So this is a brake over here. This brake is operated with the help of pressurized fluid. So this fluid is pressurized, as you can see in this figure, that when you apply force on the piston, then it can create pressure inside this fluid, and as the pressure is created inside this fluid, these two blocks will come in action. So when these two blocks will come in contact with the disc, the rotation of the disc will stop or slow down. as you can see the close view over here, when the brake is in action. So when the brake is applied, shoe and the disc are in contact. When the shoe and the disc are in contact, brake is said to be applied and the motion of the vehicle will reduce or it will come to stop. Now last topic is the difference between brake and clutch. Brake is used to slow down or stop the motion of a moving member. Clutch is used to engage or disengage the driving member and the driven member. Energy of the machine member is dissipated as heat energy due to braking action. Most of the energy of the driving member is transmitted to the driven member. However, small part is lost in the friction. So in case of brakes, it is used to slow down the machine member, whereas clutch is used to connect or disconnect the driving and the driven member. Brake energy is dissipated as the brake is applied. Energy is dissipated as heat energy due to braking action. In this case, energy is just transferred from the driving member to the driven member and small part of energy is lost in the friction. Third point, brake generally remain in the disengaged position, whereas clutch generally remain in the engaged position. Normally clutch is engaged and brake is disengaged. So when you apply the brake comes in action, and when you press the clutch will disengage. In hoist means lifts, the brake normally remains in the engaged position. In case of lifts, you can say that in the lift, the brake is normally in engaged position, and when you release the brake, the lift will come up and down. In case of machine tools, press, etc., the clutch normally remains in the disengaged position. So this is the difference between brake and clutch. Now I have tried to cover all the concepts related to coupling, clutch and brake, and it is chapter number 11 in basic mechanical engineering. So as per the GTU syllabus, I have covered all the topics. So you can go through it, and if you have liked this video, then please share it with your friends. Press like button and also press the bell button. Thanks for watching.